Hello, welcome to Tim's Travel Time. I'm Tim Lapage. We take you to spectacular places in very special ways. Our journey today takes you to climb Africa's highest mountain, Mount Kilimanjaro, at 19,341 feet. This is a journey that's attainable by almost anyone that's prepared to get ready for it. There's a little kink in the Kenya-Tanzania border, and legend has it that Queen Victoria gave it to her nephew, the Kaiser, for a birthday present in 1900. It is Africa's highest peak, just south of the equator at 19,341 feet. And I certainly can feel every one of them. I climbed the peak for the second time in my life, the first time when I was 16 years old. This time I was 53, and it was quite a different picture. Today I'd like to introduce you to two guests and clients, Gary and Nancy Fichter, from here in Park City. Tell me, how was your adventure?
It was the trip of a lifetime.
It really was exciting. The name Kilimanjaro we've heard all our lives, and it sounds like something from a romantic novel, and we were actually there. So it met all our expectations and then some.
And was it as tough as you feared?
I don't think quite so much. The downhill was the tougher part. If you're mentally prepared, a little bit physically fit, you can do it.
But for me, it was tough, and we did train a lot, and we were physically prepared, and yet for me it was tough. So I think that it varies from person to person. The altitude was very tough, even though we live at 7,000 feet. But I think that did help us.
Almost anybody, I think, can do it with the help of the porters, the guides. They're just fantastic.
And then once you're on the mountain, following the guide's advice, following he will tell you every day, every hour of the day, and every minute you'll hear the words pole pole, which is Swahili for slowly, slowly. And that is the cardinal rule, because those who try to overstep it and feel that they're feeling strong on one particular day, they go too fast and then they end up not making it.
Well, and the guides really have your welfare at heart. They want you to succeed, and they will not give up on you. Even after you've given up on yourself, they still have not given up on you. And that, I think safari experts really came up with excellent guides, because they weren't just in it for the money. They were personally interested in you and your success, and we treasured our guides, really. We had such a bonding and companionship with those guides. So they were wonderful.
Yes. There are a number of ways of doing this climb, and if you look on the internet you would find 20,000 options, but the fact of the matter is it's so important to get the right combination of operation, of good food, superb and well-trained guides, good equipment, and all at a reasonable price. Well, Kilimanjaro is in fact the world's highest freestanding mountain. It starts from the Amboseli Plains at 3,000 feet and goes up to 19,341 feet. The climb pretty much starts at around 5,500 feet, and there are a number of routes to do. You can do the famous Coca-Cola Moranga route, the Machame route, the Umbwa route, or the Shira Plateau route, which can often include a night camping on the crater floor. You selected the Machame route, which gave us a chance, I think it was 5.5 days up and 1.5 coming down,
right,
which gave us a whole extra day at higher altitude, at about 14,000 feet for acclimatization. How did you find that worked for you?
Yes, that was definitely another good decision on the part of safari experts, because we did not know. We signed up for the trip knowing really not what to expect, and so that was a safari expert decision, and it was really key, I think, to the success. We needed that extra day to acclimate and to rest, and it made all the difference in the world, I'm sure.
Yes. There are 5 different ecosystems on the mountain. It's really quite an extraordinary contrast each day as you go through these different ecosystems. But of course, the final one, as you initially you come out of the forest, and then there's your view of your days ahead of you, and it almost seems insurmountable, doesn't it, when you get that first view?
It was nice to see, though. You know, we didn't see it going up through the jungle, and then finally you see it, and it's not only high, but it's actually off in the distance a ways. It's not just immediately right there. You have quite a bit of traversing to do to get to it. So, you've got a lot of walking ahead of you. Pulley, though.
That moment, most people get to the crater rim around about dawn.
Right.
Is that when you reached there?
A little bit later.
It was just, the sun was just starting to come up over Mwenzi, which is short of the crater. So we were maybe a tiny bit behind schedule, not too bad. And it was fully day when we reached Stella Point, and then on around to the highest point on that rim at Uhuru. So it was after dawn. I'm sure you have pictures showing people with walking sticks, and I was just walking with my hands hanging loose and dragging my poles behind me. It was a trudge for me. I know for Nancy it wasn't. For me, I was just trudging, and I wasn't sure I cared whether I actually got there or not. It was a lot further than I anticipated it being.
Yes. It is said by the scientists that the ice packs on Kilimanjaro, the glaciers, will have disappeared by 2020. So if you're dreaming of doing this climb, I think now is the time to get on and do it.
Well, it was a wonderful climb, and I'm glad we have it in our experience. As much as I was drained at the top, it's something that we'll treasure all our lives. I mean, we treasure the thought of it all the time when we look back on it. It was a wonderful experience, and largely due to the quality of the trip, the quality of the guides and the porters and the organization. We had nothing really to worry about. Everything just went like clockwork, and that's what made it such a memorable experience for us.
I have some groups that I put together, probably 3 planned trips each year, and then your group was an individual group that just the 2 of you went, with your team of porters and your personal lieutenant. But tell us about the descent. The descent is almost as hard as the climb because it's seriously hard on the knees.
I think it was more draining to me because it is long. Yeah, it's just a long day. You start out before midnight and you're done 5 o'clock the next day.
And you finished your trip with a short safari in Kenya, and then finally on the East African coast in Lamu. I think that was a good way to relax, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
It was wonderful, seeing all the animals, and we were ready for a little R&R, something entirely different. And we went to some places that are a little bit off the beaten path, so there were less people, and feel like we got back to the, actual culture of Africa in those areas rather than just tourist spots. And Lamu was a third very different experience, and wonderful.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Tim Lapage, SafariExperts.com, here in Park City, Utah. Join us again soon for another adventure to an extraordinary place.